Welcome to the Heroic Voice. I am here again with the dodging Chris Marrinan. Hi, Chris.
Hi, how
How
you
have you
doing?
been? The reason that I have Chris back is because Liberty Girl number 6 has just gone to the printer. Quite some time in the making, but I think well worth the wait. It's a good book. It is, Chris, you don't know this. It is, in fact, already number one on drivethroughcomics.com. This is the Heroic Voice, where I talk to comic book creators and other interesting people on a variety of subjects. I am Dennis Maloney, publisher of the Heroic Multiverse, where we feature good girl and bad girl artwork, super babes, and all kinds of Silver Agey style stories
Oh wow,
for
drive through
downloads.
comics, huh?
Yeah, it's been up there for one day and it's already leaped to number one in downloads there.
That's
So
fantastic. Wow.
clearly
Yeah, I was really happy
somebody,
to see the coloring job that your guy did.
I was saying that clearly people have been waiting for this and
Uh-huh.
they seem to be liking it. So um, let's talk about let's talk about your impression of the Liberty Girl. This was you did two stories for this
Yeah.
issue, um, and I think it was the first. Was it the first time that you ever did the Liberty Girl? You may have drawn her once in an issue of Flair.
Yeah, I drew her in I think some Flair comic and also in the Legion of Liberty or whatever it's called, the Vanguard of Liberty,
Vanguard of Freedom.
Vanguard of Freedom. She shows up in there too.
Yeah, she does. That's right. You
Yeah.
drew her before.
So yeah,
So let me get your take on the character, if you don't mind, since you haven't
my
had
take,
that.
I think she's a real upbeat, kind of a really neat tie between modern days and the earlier days of those kinds of comics. So it's kind of a neat transitional kind of character that I like, and she's fun. She's good to look at. And she's got kind of a cool costume. So she's got all the right ingredients for me.
I'm glad to hear that. You
Yeah,
mentioned transition, and that was actually kind of the point of the issue that you drew. In Liberty Girl number 6, we're kind of transitioning her to from someone who's been on the periphery of the heroic published universe into someone now who's directly pulled into it, who's involved in it.
right,
At the funeral story, in issue number 5, I think it was, her old friend Fletcher the Bowman was killed. Might have
right,
been issue 4. But anyway, he was killed recently. So we're doing the funeral to start out with. And all of the old Vanguard of Freedom people who are still alive show up, along with some members of the League of Champions.
right.
A few prominent Texas politicians who were alive at the time this story took place, right, show up,
Yes.
right? We get a letter from Queen Elizabeth, who knew the Liberty Girl back during World War II. Right?
Hmm.
So everything is tied together in that story. And it makes the Liberty Girl sad, right? Because her friends are passing away and she's right basically just as young as she ever was,
Yeah.
right? So it's difficult for her, despite who she is. It is very difficult for her. Flair sees that. Flair senses that the Liberty Girl feels out of place, out of sorts, friendless, in fact.
Yeah.
The second story in the issue deals with that.
Yes.
Yes.
Where they try to cheer her up and bring her into the modern kind of mindset and the kind of
To
the
what
lively
degree of
characters that are all
success
around
remains to be seen.
them. Well,
But
if it succeeds, yeah.
yeah, but basically, Blair and the G Girl and the Black Enchantress bring together, 10, 9 or 10 different superpowered girls, superpowered girlfriends for the
Hmm.
girl, her girl guardians, and they have a pool party. Right? So
Which
now,
is the natural thing to do.
absolutely the natural thing to do. Right? And it's also the first time we get to meet Icicle's stepdaughter, adopted daughter, Honey,
Right.
right? The little girl who's actually the daughter of Ice Star and Madam Sin. That's the first time we get to meet the little genius 13-year-old Honey in the story. Uh,
Yeah.
and Jimmy Jensen, the G Girl's little brother, who's a very good photographer, is there to snap pictures of the girls in their bathing suits, their costumes,
Hmm.
which is really the excuse for the pool party. It
Hmm.
sets up a 20-page, spread of
Yeah.
pinups. Okay, so as you were drawing, and I'm rambling, I'm sorry. Let's go back to that first story. Um, you've read it now with the dialogue. You actually had a lot of that dialogue in the plot that I gave you. I want to get, as a artist, your impression of what that story and then the next story, how that was to work with characters that you were a lot of characters that you were already familiar with, but in a completely new context.
Well, it it was kind of a good it was a good way to reintroduce the characters, I think, and I think it kind of fleshed out certain aspects of them that I think that we weren't really aware of before,
Specifically,
in their more freewheeling, younger adventure days. You get to see them as more.
oh, you're talking about the flashback stories.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, well, and then seeing them in the modern days too, how a lot of them have aged and some have died and so on. It kind of really fleshes them out, and I think that was a really neat aspect of the story that I enjoyed, and
Oh,
I always like, I like the flashbacks because it goes back to the more innocent kind of adventure filled comics that I grew up reading, and that were inspired by the even earlier comics and stories. So um, that the way those characters interacted and um, kind of brought all that forward into the present was really, kind of moving for me.
did you have a favorite story? We had Blair talking about her brief encounters with Fletcher. We had um, who was it who told the story of Fletcher's actual fight with Dr. Demonic? Um,
I'm assuming that was um, Liberty Girl, wasn't it? But
I,
I'd have to look at it.
yeah, I think it was, but I
That
don't have
was
the book in front of me either.
Yeah. Well, that was definitely my favorite part of the comic because I love drawing that whole scene where they fight on his
His Doombringer
his
vehicle.
doom, yeah, his big giant aircraft with all his murderous cronies, hopping around and trying to stop Fletcher, and to me that was kind of the pinnacle
Uh,
of the whole story.
and there was, you mentioned the character development. Right at the end of that story, there was that one scene where Fletcher assumes that he's falling to his death, and
Yeah.
that he gets in a dig at the Liberty Girl when she saves him.
I forgot he got a dig. I may have
Yeah,
missed
he
that.
got a dig in, right? He basically accused her of timing it so
Oh,
that she always arrives in the
yeah,
nick of time.
right. The last second.
Yeah. Um, there was also a moment with the Black Enchantress that when people read this story will definitely surprise them. Right. What was your how did you feel about that?
Um, where I'm trying to remember what you're referring to.
Right at the end, right, where Dr. Arcane is speaking, and then he asks the Black Enchantress to do something.
Oh, and she sings.
She thinks, yeah,
Yeah, and it's like everybody's amazed at how this kind of nasty person, sort of evil, semi-evil person, prankster, can be such a brilliant singer.
yeah,
Beautiful voice
yeah. Like the Liberty Girl said, she has the voice of an angel.
of an angel.
Yeah.
Yes, even though she's like a little spitfire demon,
Hmm.
in other ways.
And the song
So
that she sings,
I don't remember the song.
"The Yellow Rose of Texas."
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, right.
Okay, that's moving.
The original lyric, right? which people will need to read, right? And that's a deliberate choice on the Black Enchantress's part, right?
Uh-huh.
It's a racist song, um, and
Whoops.
and she does not sing the modern version of it. She sings the original version of it.
Oh, I'll have to go back and reread that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Um, the Yellow Rose of Texas was a mulatto girl. The soldier who went to visit her was a black soldier,
Oh, huh.
right, in the original song, and it was
Interesting.
genderized in later versions of it. But the Black Enchantress deliberately sang the original version.
Okay. I'm going to go back and read that. That's interesting. That's an extra wrinkle on the thing. But no one, yeah, I mean, no one really gets shocked about that, right? They just start
No.
thinking amazed at how great her voice is at that point, I think.
Hmm.
But
And Flair,
I'll have to go
being a
back.
high-pitched, reedy singer, is probably a little jealous.
Yeah, no doubt.
Okay, was there anything else that struck you? Right at the beginning of the story, there is a moment where the Liberty Girl is surprised by Flair, right? Did you pick
Yeah.
up on what was happening there?
You mean when Flair shows up in her with the gym, or right
No,
at the
no, no. At
beginning,
the beginning of the funeral story, where the
where they're
Liberty Girl's
flying
flying into the
through
funeral,
there? Yeah.
and Flair comes up on her, and the Liberty Girl did not know that Flair was there,
Oh, right, right.
right? Which astonished her because normally the Liberty Girl can sense everything, right? Right.
Yeah, I wasn't aware of that aspect of her. No. Okay.
But she didn't know Flair was there until
Uh-huh.
Flair presented herself. Um, so we're hinting at a little mystery there,
Yeah.
something that we've actually hinted at before that's special about Flair that we've never really made explicit, and we probably won't for a while.
Okay. But true
You
fan,
mentioned,
true,
hmm?
but longtime readers may spot that
Yes, yeah, they
and
may
say,
spot that.
"Hey, wait a minute."
They should spot that,
Yes.
right? I mean, you also mentioned the second story, which is interesting in, to my mind, in several different ways, because on the very first page, we allude directly to who the Liberty Girl's father is. We've dropped hints. We still don't name him because he's not in public domain yet. Right.
Okay.
Right.
Soon, huh?
Soon. Yeah, it's only a couple of years away. And
Yeah.
yeah, and once that's in public domain, guess what gets printed in an issue of Liberty Girl? The very first story featured her father. We will print a version of that once it's in public domain, um, which is,
Okay.
as I said, a few years away still.
The
But
very first story.
yeah, 1930, 1936, 33, 33, I think. I'd
You
have
mean
to
the
look it up.
first appearance of that character?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
first appearance of her father.
And he
Um,
can be referred to by name
well, he
by
can.
then?
Yeah, uh-huh. We don't
Uh,
refer to him by name until then, but people know
right.
who he is. We've said so. She also mentions his weird exercise regimen. Um, yeah. So,
My stepdad used to do those exercises
oh, did he?
when he read the original pulps.
Oh,
He'd try to
did it work
follow
for him?
through. Huh?
Did it work for him?
No, because who keeps up with that stuff, you know? Everybody starts out with their grand resolutions to improve themselves and do all these, you know, do all these exercises and exercycles and run all their machines, exercise machines, until they get bored with it.
There's another thing that we establish in that story that has in fact been hinted at before. It's that the Liberty Girl powers down occasionally. She can't maintain her energy levels because if she does that, they start to deteriorate and dissipate.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so every 7 days or so, she takes a day off, right? The old biblical injunction: power down, rest up, recover. And as you said, that's when Flair shows up again, right? With someone,
Right.
right?
When she's
Who the
doing a
Liberty Girl
workout.
also can't sense. So um, it's Chrissy Claus, except that it's not actually Chrissy Claus because Chrissy Claus is a fictional character in the Champions universe. Um, remember who it is? Did you figure out who it was?
No.
It's Icicle.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, Icicle has her own TV show on the CW every Wednesday night at 8 o'clock. The Adventures of Chrissy Claus. Icicle plays Chrissy. Right. So she
I
showed
don't
up
think that's
here.
mentioned in the script.
We don't want to mention it. I didn't want
Okay.
to mention in the script. It's mentioned elsewhere.
All
It's
right.
an in joke for people who already know this.
Oh, okay.
Right. Um, but there's also a mystery there because it turns out that Liberty Girl can't sense the presence of Icicle either, which surprises her.
Uh-huh.
That's not something that we've touched on before, but there is in fact a reason for that. Right. So let's go
Hmm.
into the story. Now, you had several, you mentioned this already, several interactions, this time with contemporary characters that we get personality glimpses into. So I would like to ask you, having read it now, at least you said you read it, and you saw what I was doing in the plot. What's your take on some of those interactions? I mean, they're actually 12 different characters interacting with each other, you know, getting those personal takes in basically 8 pages. So
Yeah.
what what
It
struck you
well,
about
yeah,
them?
it leads to some interesting things. I like, they point out at having some history with each other, some of them, which is intriguing. Like the vampire woman
Sylvia,
um, having a history with uh,
the Liberty Girl.
Liberty Girl, right? Okay, and so that opens up, kind of all kinds of possibilities. I don't know if any of that's been shown and published before in print.
No, it's never been shown before,
Never been. Okay, so that's kind of interesting. And
but they were never friends. So Sylvia
right,
comes right out and says
yeah,
that.
they didn't get along. Yeah, they didn't meet. They weren't like really overjoyed to see each other, I guess you could say. And I guess the daughter of Madam Sin and iStar
Yeah,
was,
Honey Grayson.
she's already kind of starting to grow up and feel, resentment and about, you know what she's being asked to do there. So that's kind of interesting. It kind of gives them, there's some personality starting to come out. Um, I liked I liked the interaction with the who was the feral Catwoman,
The Tigress.
the Tigress, and the Black Enchantress. That seemed kind of a neat tie-in to have
Yeah,
them together.
they know each other.
However, yeah, I mean it's kind of brief that they're in there together, but I like that kind of the chemistry that they had going.
Anything else that
Well, and again, Flair and Liberty Girl, seem to be have kind of a neat chemistry going on. You know, they're not exactly buddy buddy, but um,
I think it's that they like and respect each other.
yeah,
Right. Flair's mother and the Liberty Girl were enemies. The Golden Warrior worked for the Nazis for many years, had several battles with the Liberty Girl. So it's kind of, this is the daughter of one of my old enemies who
yeah,
actually later became a teammate because eventually the Golden Warrior realized she was on the wrong side and
right,
joined the Vanguard of Freedom. Right. So there's some ambivalence there in the relationship between Flair and the Liberty Girl.
exactly.
Yeah. But the idea that's presented to the Liberty Girl is that she doesn't have to be alone. Right.
Yeah,
There are people she can call on when she needs
hmm,
help. Right. And here are some of them. Right. Here are 9 other, superpowered women, who could be available, right,
hmm,
including, a couple of your old teammates, right? Miranda the Mermaid is there.
yeah.
Who else? Oh, she
That's
knew
also
Sylvia, right? Even though they were never teammates and didn't really like each other. Um,
yeah. She
yeah.
was more of a villain originally.
Oh, yeah, yeah. She's a
So
freaking vampire.
yeah, that adds a new wrinkle.
Um,
Yeah, I think yeah, that opens up a lot of possibilities. You know, having them all together and still still powerful, even the older ones.
mhm.
Um,
Let's see what else. This leads into the next issue. Right. At the very end, the last page you drew, Flair is pinning those pictures up on the wall, right? And, spelling it out for the Liberty Girl
uh-huh,
and invites the Liberty Girl to, is it G Girl? It's the G Girl who invites the Liberty Girl to come with her and Flair to Korea for a USO show,
uh-huh.
right? And the Liberty Girl, that's not a mission, that's a cover story. So, uh, anyway, they're going to go to Korea for a particular reason.
Hmm.
And that will be in Sensational G Girl number 9, I think. That whole Flair, the G Girl, and the Liberty Girl team up for an adventure in Korea. Um, the next issue of Liberty Girl is basically a campfire story tale where Flair, the Liberty Girl, Sparkplug, and the Black Enchantress kind of get to know each other. And I know that you're really busy, but if we can come to some kind of accommodation as far as page rate and stuff like that goes, I would love to have you do at least some of that.
That'd be awesome,
You know,
as always. It'd be fun
so
to draw.
what would you like to see going forward here and in Champions? Just, from a sort of, someone who's been involved with it from the beginning. Um, do you have thoughts, any ideas of where we should go?
Well, I think we could explore, some of the things that have already been set up with just like in there, a lot of them getting back together in the Liberty Girl comic, can be expanded upon and then bring in. Are you talking about in Liberty Girls
And I'm talking about in general with
in
the
general?
champions,
Okay,
because Liberty Girl is not a member of the League of Champions, but she's kind of an honorary member,
right,
having been a member of the Vanguard of Freedom, which is the precursor organization to it.
right.
Right. And she is working with the champions on this particular project.
Hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, it opens it up to all kinds of possible adventures, and I'm not sure what adversaries are in the background, causing causing complications and conflicts in the storyline that they can team up against.
Well, there
But
is Damon Kreutz, right, in that first Liberty Girl issue. We found out the reason that the Liberty Girl has been missing for 30 years. It's because she's
uh,
been in hell, right, fighting to keep a demonic entity from escaping. And she's not in hell anymore. So it's only a matter of time.
yeah, okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah.
And there's
Uh,
still the stuff going on in Olympus, which is always kind of a fun thing to work with, those characters in that setting
and we
that
do have,
we and you were talking about doing a story
yeah, yeah, we've got a Champions of the Gods storyline going
with
on
them. Yeah,
across
that's
Flair.
already going.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
Okay,
going on
good.
slowly.
Well,
Not
yeah.
all things happen at the same time in the comics.
I really like the Tigress character, and I'm not sure what you have going with her, but if she is
I'll send you some Tigress PDFs
okay, yeah,
so
I
you
appreciate
can
that.
take a look, get yourself
I've
more
seen a few
familiar
of
with
them,
the
but
character.
yeah, I don't
Uh,
have any more
this
recent.
is the current version of the Tigress. There was an earlier version of the Tigress who was again an enemy of Flair's mother and started picking on Flair just because. But
Hmm.
this is a new incarnation of the concept. So I think those stories are worth a read. Derek Gross, before he passed away, helped me develop that. So there's some good artwork in there too.
Oh, good.
All right, now let's shift gears. Let's talk about you. What are you up to these days?
Currently, I have just finished a story called "The For Love of Horror Con," and it's for a publisher that does conventions, mainly horror themed conventions in England all around. And he has an ongoing comic book that has adventures of young convention goers, young like college age kids running around these conventions. And right now there's this murderer, kind of mass murderer character chasing around, a masked character chasing them around and killing, not just chasing them, but killing people uh,
That's not good.
at the conventions and near and around and people involved with them. So it always ties in and brings the reader back to this whole convention scene. So that's currently what I've just completed, and I'm working on. Besides that, I'm working on some other future Kickstarter projects, um, which I can't get real involved in describing right now because it's such early
In
stage.
general, give us a
Well,
general.
one is a sketchbook, basically just a kind of an accumulation of a lot of work I've done over the years, sketches and stuff. Like a lot of artists have those at conventions,
So a
and
Chris Marrinan portfolio book.
that cuts to that in that realm. It'd be basically more like a sketchbook, just showing earlier and more recent work and stuff in development. So that's one of them. And famous writer Stephen Grant and I have been kicking around a thing for several years now that I just haven't had time to put together some pages for. So that's the other one
Okay.
currently.
Something that you and
Um,
Steve have had in the works for a while.
yes, well, yeah, we've kicked around. Actually, it's been a couple of different stories. Where this is the second one that we've there. The third one actually that has kind of we've kicked around different ideas and stories, and this is what it's finally turned into. So just a minute.
You're being called.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, she thought I'd be done by now, I guess.
Okay, well
So
then
so
why don't
basically,
we
yeah, that's let me think. Um, there's that, and yeah, just otherwise I'm doing commissions and teaching.
teaching?
Yeah, I teach how to draw comics for the Academy of Art
Cool. All righty.
University.
You have a social media presence.
Yeah, I'm
Um,
on Facebook and Instagram.
all right. And people can follow you using what tags?
The Instagram one is C Marinin 18,
Okay. And Facebook?
and Facebook, I'm not sure what that one. It'd just be Chris.
Well, the people can find you, I'm sure.
They can find me if they go to the Instagram one, that links to the Facebook one.
Oh, okay. Well, that works.
And yeah, but otherwise, yeah, I got a regular timeline on Facebook. There's Chris Marinin comic artist, and then there's one that's just Chris Marinin.
Hmm. Okay.
I think
All right.
it's just
People
that.
should follow that. Keep an eye out for the Kickstarter. Since you're
Yes,
being
announcements.
called, let's.
I'm on Patreon as well.
Oh, you have a Patreon account where
Yeah,
people can give money to you.
ideally, yes, that would be preferable.
All righty.
Yeah.
Chris,
Fine.
thank you so much. I want to encourage people to follow you on social media because
Yes, I appreciate it.
you
Thanks
are
for
doing
having
good
me.
work. You did great work on the Liberty Girl book. It took a while,
Really
but
enjoyed it.
it really is. It really is. I think a beautiful product,
Uh-huh. I
as
agree.
evidenced by the fact that it jumped so quickly to number one. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. What else I want to say? Oh, uh, we need people. If you like this, hit the like button,
Yes.
subscribe, share with others,
Mm-hmm.
because that's the only way we're going to grow the Heroic Voice channel is if people
Yeah.
tell other people about it.
Good word of mouth.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
Chris, again, thank you, and go tend to whatever you need to tend to. All right.
Okay. You
Thanks.
got it, man.
Okay.
Thanks for having me.